This is day 621 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. You like sponsor coming share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please come me directly. Very greatly appreciated. They were doing Siman Shin Sama Gimel, Mem Zayin to Nun Beis. Mem Zayin. Mem Zayin. Chasav Rabbeinu B'Sei Steve Chavtes. Movi Shetzido Echad Kala L'Yam. Tzido Echad Kala L'Ashba Sharabim. One side opens into a sea, and the other side, okay, I assume it's like a lake. The other side opens into a garbage dump of the masses. It doesn't need any tikkun. Sha'ashba sharabim eno silis panos. The garbage of the masses usually is not removed. It remains there, and therefore it's a barrier on that side. We're also not concerned that the seashore, which evidently was banked enough to be a telemislaket, is going to acquire sediment, and that sediment is then going to make it no longer a wall, but rather a pirza. What happens in the seashore is that it's the bank comes more gradual and it's no longer a wall. Ramah says that those who say we are concerned that maybe the sediment is going to collect. But says that are machmir like that Ramah. But they're still going to be telling mislaket 10 fucking high in length of 4 amos. It's obviously a wall. Yesh Mishol said, but whether those are forbidden even in this scenario. Because they may carry beyond the telemislakin which is left to where they originally used to carry, which I guess is more out on the beach, and as they were accustomed to do, v'shamavi karmas, and then it's karmas. The yesh mechitzos me'ayam, even their walls from the sea, v'shalok because beyond there is the telemislakin, it's no longer considered mukaf l'dira. And therefore the tzuspes is not going to work on the place which used to be the edge. We need an absolute wall because unless you go on and continue past there. The chumra is the extreme chumra, and he and also Mr. Brewer do not hold this chumra. Specifically by a seashore, not just not a lake, a seashore, not below, not rivers. We're concerned about sediment. But the river bank has to be right next to the edge, the end of the mavli. It's a distance from there. Then that breach requires a fix. If it's less than 10, it's enough to put out the pasim. The yoser me'aser, if it's more than 10, so it's just a pesach. It's just a pesach. Is that butcher now establish the kites usher? If you have a river which dries up in the summer, it's forbidden. I'm not sure why, because he says so tell mislaket it's okay, but even if it's not tell mislaket, I mean, obviously when the water was there, it was also tell mislaket. Otherwise, the water it would be a problem. So I'm not sure what he's saying here. So it would seem that it always has to be tell mislaket on the riverbank. We have there's a frequent problem when you have bridges which go over the river. You have to put it through a pesach on them. It's more than 10. It's less. 2 pasim suffice. I like to point out here that Arukh HaShulchan, as the Kedarko says clearly, that pasim are enough in an eruv, even bismarazeh, you don't have to make it through a pesach if it's less than 10. When rivers freeze, no? wall is definitely negated because now it's flush. Because you walk on the ice like you walk on the ground. Kites. So those who want to say even in the summer you should you line the river bank, because in the winter it's going to freeze up. Many people argue on this. Yeshua doesn't mean that that chumrah, which is from the Taz, at all. I think it didn't of also guides mutter, but the halacha is in the summer it's mutter and in the winter it's usher because of the ice. Only there's only usher in the winter because the wall is negated. Now, I feel number names a bit of mechitza. He wanted to say it wasn't the wall was not negated by the ice. Hakim Rabim, since many people were walking down, the masses who walk over a wall cancel the wall. The Rabbanon even though the Rabbanans don't hold that the masses walking the wall or through it cancel it. Because that's only by a man-made mechitza. But it's a mechitza but it's a wall which is made by, which is natural. But also later, then in such case, it says that the masses come and negate the wall. I enjoy. Vikasha, a difficulty came how can you consider the sea to be a wall? Spinos over his bow. The boats come up on the shore and they the mechitza. So say in fact we're talking about a place where there are no boats. Which Avraham says if it's before that's clearly difficult to say. And we're talking about only places where there are no boats which come ashore. But the reason the spheres are not about the mechitza is because it's not like the masses are going there. The boat is going there, not the people. This is yep. There in fact, there are poskim who say that it's not the pshat that even Rabban agree that if it's a natural mechitza, Rabban the masses can't do it. Then he it seems explicitly allowed that way. Why the way Sharei Boy Sham Tel? Because the question there is by a tel, which is a natural mechitza. The kavanas the tesis lamar the ainz mechitza kmura linyan yesem base sign means it's not a wall for more than base a sign. This wall, which is asi rabim and trample over it or through it. There's no mikra hukfa ladira. In that case, it's not called hukfa ladira because people are going through it. Bialocha says explains the tesis kipshuta. But in any event, the issue shoymer the below nichal tashmishtei. Those who say when it's hard to use that spot. It's hard to go through for whatever reason. Lo me asirayim about mechitza. We don't say the masses come and cancel the wall. Hey, and therefore, Tel Mislaka Shem Gemara, lo me and zeh mitam zeh. Tel Mislaka is to be enough of a angle that it's difficult to go there, and therefore we don't say asirayim about mechitza under those circumstances. But memtes only is like that. Feel the need for deeper places kipab pshuta. Even when this place is going to simple pshat. The mechitza asim b'deshmai marina asim b'ayim about mechitza. That in a natural we say that the masses come and negate the wall. Come mechitza achas mani v'lo kain. It's we don't say by one wall of the enclosure. It has to be more than one wall. The came for the Ibrahim Akoyim, this as it says earlier in Tesis, because if Rabbi Yehuda's philosophy even Rabbi Yehuda holds that the masses come and negate the walls. Even artificial walls, they'll show them. That's what they say. Now, if you have a shlosh mechitzas daraisa, even the whole 3 mechitzas are daraisa. Lo asra and bala mechitzas shlishis. The masses can't come and negate the third wall. Came to mechitzas shlemos, since there are 2 walls which are complete on Kalashona. Eshkos can afilu Rabbi Yehuda because can Rabbanan. Right, this even Rabbi Yehuda says that artificial walls can be cancelled, so according to Rabbanan. So I'm not sure which the 2 mechitzas shlemas are, whether they're parallel to each other. I assume they're actually at an angle to each other. because then the rabbim can't pass through easily. Not sure. About more sham shkas is el shono. About more writes Rabbi Yehuda sphere laid asaram about the mechitzta. Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Yehuda, and no, the shtei mechitzas deraisa. Rabbi Yehuda holds Rabbi Yehuda shita, which we don't pass like under normal circumstances, and the end circumstances is that two walls already make something which is deraisa. It's a kiddush about more. What's to say Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbi Yehuda, obviously because it's against Rabbana. In any event, you shouldn't wake up after you shtei mechitzas. So where's the problem? Asiram v'chitzta when there aren't even two walls parallel to each other. Yishrabim bokim sham bokim shestiva erev because they crisscross the whole area. There's not even one wall in which the masses don't pass. It's so explicit. Even were there one wall, even one wall. Shena Rabbi and Bokim Bo. The masses don't go through. You don't say the masses come and negate the mechitzas. The kosh came Rabbanan. This if you say Kohen Rabbi Yehuda, it's more machmir certainly Kohen Rabbanan. Says brackets Asi Shafim and Shushol test and tell him mislakit. I don't know, it's referring to offhand. No, near than is daiti. This is also a very famous sheet of Arukh HaShulchan. I think it's famous because it brings down the contemporary. Anyway, it's famous to me. Only if it's foolish to Rishus Rabim, only if the access of Asi Rabim is open to Rishus Rabim, then we say Asi Rabim about the Mechitza. From foolish karmelis, not if it's open into a karmelis. Said there ain't at slain Rishus Rabim, since we hold that in our day and age we don't have Rishus Rabim in our areas, most areas. So you're not concerned that the masses come and negate the walls. What does Rabbi Yehuda say? He says like as follows. Answer, say you don't need to have with possibilities any additional fix. Masses can't negate that. We're not for the pasim, they're not for those four corners, double-sided corners. Have a might rabbi rabbim about lechitza. They will concede that the masses negate the mechitza. Because just if you have two houses, one on each side of Rishus Rabim, so that the truth still remains Rishus Rabim in the middle, because Pascha Rabbi Yehuda. And Mefarish the time of the Rabbanim b'shnei batim b'shnei tzidul Rishus Rabim shows swim u'mitam asum Rabim b'al mechitzos. So you see that the reason why you can't carry from one to the other is because the masses come and they negate the walls. The repair kamaton Rabbanim can't some Arvin Rishus Rabim. There's just how can you make an Erev in Rishus Rabim? Osim tzuras hapesach chulei make a tzuras hapesach on one side, plus us on the other side. U'porach and ask Rishus Rabim Arva. How can you make an Erev Rishus Rabim? But time then we learn Mishesh Shnei Batim Mishnei Tzidi Rishus Rabim. So there's two houses, one on each side of Rishus Rabim. Eimar Rishus Rabim. You can't make a Rishus Rabim there. U'meisek Ketzutz Ketzam Arvim before some flush of Rishus Rabim. You're right, Rishus Rabim Mamish needs doors. I guess initially it says Tzuras HaPesach. That of course needs doors in order to work. But the question is Ketzam Arvim before some flush of Rishus Rabim. How do we make an Erev on the streets which open into Rishus Rabim? Harei lehedji the kosh ein Rishus Rabim gomor. So here we see the any which is not an absolute Rishus Rabim. Avshim b'fulashim Rishus Rabim, even though it opens into Rishus Rabim. Ma'avinei Tzuras HaPesach v'lechi koira. You can make an Erev through Tzuras HaPesach or a lechi or a koira. Rabbeinu Yohanan son, according to Rabbeinu Yohanan, the time Rabbeinu Shem the Rabim v'vat lemechitzos. The reason, even though they the issue which Rabbanan have is Asi Rabban Mechitzos come v'osam fulashim in the movie which is the foolish Rishus Rabim, not the Rishus Rabim itself. Lo Asi Rabban Mechitzos. Koshkim Karmas Gomer certainly where a complete where it opens into a complete karmos. Peinem Eshet Tosis ain't enforcing computer shows. True Tosis doesn't like when that Bachlish they bought in the case of two houses. El Mitam shows Mechitzos the Raisa. They hold three walls as the Raisa. Milvar Vadi Hadin came. Nevertheless, according to him, it's definitely An issue. The issue is Asir and Mechitza, and only which is a Rabim is out Mechitza, not side streets. When we see we don't see anybody arguing them. Chem etzem sugi shemevor lehedge chashayza lo have a rak b'shusram lo karmos. The issue of Asiram is only b'shusram, not by a karmelis. And he says in the bracket, they should rhyme me shalmi per kama loch aleph. The mechitza achas lo mean asu rabim, even by one wall. You don't see asu rabim. Shomer Shomer says there, V'aden shakaka Rabbi Chanin, I guess that place is where he lived. Shakaka, maybe Shuk. I don't remember what it means. Lotzer, it says Pesach doesn't need creditors of Pesach. Shumis kemislakid yud mito gimel shitu shamis you don't need kemislakid 10/4. We need 10/3, which is more machmir. Takaratik the book there had here batim shilmaton. The answer is a pest in order to fix the houses which are below. You tell him mislakid. I can't show. Busha tells they here of avabisha hilu charabin. And it tells they allowed it even though the masses are passing over it. Because it's one wall. Unfortunately, difficulty there. The Beni Yona's son, not sure it means, it says there's no riot that anytime it's just a Pesach, we don't say Asurabim, meaning that if a Shusarabim goes to Tzursa Pesach, I was to say Asurabim Batlim Bechitza. Nunav, Mavi Shetzito Echad Arukh Shetzito Echad Kotzer. Mavi, which is wide on one side and which is long on the other side and short on the other side. Afilu Ein Arukh Odev HaKotzer. In other words, one of the walls of the Mavi goes further out, and the wall on the other side which stops short. Afilu Ein Arukh Odev HaKotzer Ba'amas Mavi, even if the longer wall is not 4 amos longer than the shorter wall, which is the shear of a Mavi. Come nevertheless, Ein Amiyach HaKorah Let's side of Arukh. You can't put the Korah on the long side. Okay, it's only on the short side. The beam has to go the place where the last place there are two walls parallel to each other. So you can't put the beam on an angle from the end of the short wall to the end of the long wall. To use that area, use one side until its extent. On the other side to its extent. The Korah is to recognize Adkan, right? And on an angle, it's not considered to be a hecker. It's not considered to be a reminder. Because people who see that from the outside that they're using the Mavi in an area where there's only a wall on one side, past the end of the short wall, Yomer is going to say, it's going to say, oh, you can use Shusram or Karmos, no problem. Because this additional this space which would be under the angle doesn't look like it's part of the Mavi. And he put two lechem, echad it's arach, one by the long side, echad it's got one by the short side. The lechem mishum chitzon, lechem should be a wall, so it should be a wall on an angle. It doesn't work. Also sheikh far biyanu. We already explained to the gam lechi to a hecker. Lechi also has to have a hecker. Lachson have a hecker. An angle is not a hecker. The answer to l'chaim doesn't say l'chaim would actually be permitted. Tzursa Pesach v'adei mutter. But Tzursa Pesach would definitely be permitted because Tzursa Pesach mamash wall. Mamshich l'achson, you can put it on an angle. Shtamish will cut side. You use on the short side till the end of the short wall. Arach and the end of the long side till the end of the long wall. Because it's a complete wall. Even on an angle, it's a wall. Which you said you shouldn't put a beam on an angle. That is where there's long and short. But in other words, from the end of the short to the end of the long. But if you want to put a beam on an angle inside the mavui, that works. I'm not sure why do it, but you can. To use the end of the beam one side and the end of the beam the other side. Since it's in a place where there's a wall opposite another wall, have a hecker gam machson. There's also a hecker on the angle. No issue, a stumbling block, and you might come to do something else. You put the lechi in the middle of mavi. If beyond that lechi, towards the opening of the mavui, there are additional yards which open the mavui. V'asukam lechi best they made another lechi at the end of the mavui. Ein lechi b'nei moil chalkol mavui shnei mavos. The inner lechi is not effective to divide into two mavos. She'el yarvu latzman. That's when each one can make their own eruv. El osim ela. On the contrary, they both outside each other. That lechi creates problems, no solutions. Hacharvu yachad until they make an eruv together. That would say the lechi is a wall. Ain't a mechitza mamish. It's not a true wall that it divides completely each one and the other. Only in terms of making up a fourth wall, how mishum mechitza works in effect as a wall. Ain't a mechitza more, but it's not a complete wall. Chatzi mavi chatzi shein to divide half the mud from the other half. There's no yard beyond the inner lechi. Without the lechi, you can carry up to the inner lechi. Not more. Because they clarified that this is their primary lechi. Everything else outside beyond it doesn't count. And even they put another lechi at the end of the movie. If they didn't uproot the first one, or negate it explicitly, who says that the outer one is the effective one. Maybe the inner one is the effective one.